The following segments are pre-recorded and sponsored by Longworth Productions.
Fighting crime on Triad Today. Hello everyone, I'm Jim Longworth and welcome to another edition of Triad Today, coming to you once again from the beautiful Senior Botanical Garden in Kernersville. We'll tell you more about the garden later on, and later on is when the roundtable shows up too, so stay tuned for that. Lots of great guests coming your way. Where we want to start though is with my friend Christy Bird. She's Director of Patient Advocacy for Mountain Valley Hospice and Palliative Care, and welcome you back to the show. Thanks for coming.
It's good to be here.
Just remind folks, what is the mission of Mountain Valley Hospice?
Sure. The mission of Mountain Valley Hospice is to create the best experience for every patient, every family, every time.
Right. And you guys are really big about quality of life for folks in those situations where there's a terminal illness, for example, and you do such great work. Now, let's talk about kids for a few minutes.
Sure.
Who have lost a loved one. And you have this, something that's called Love's Peak, is a new program at Mountain Valley. What does PEAK stand for? What is it all about?
Sure. So we've always taken care of pediatric patients at Mountain Valley, and we rebranded our program to be Love's Peak, and PEAK is providing empathy and assurance for kids.
Right. So now you have special camps for these kids that they can go to. What is that all about?
We do. In the summer, we always provide a camp for children who are grieving. So we want them to be able to come and have that experience in a very safe environment.
Right, and I think you have two of the camps. One's on July 12th, one's on July 19th. Where are they going to be held?
The one on July the 12th is at Jack Dalton Park in Martinsville, Virginia.
Right.
And the one on July 19th is at Dobson First Baptist in Dobson.
You know, we've had a discussion before, you and I, about the fact that kids grieve differently. You know, if they just lost a mom, a dad, a grandparent, a brother, a sister. So they don't grieve the same way that adults are. They haven't quite developed the same way. Is that kind of the reason why you take such great care of these kids and have the camps and do activities?
Absolutely. We want them to realize, for adults, that we realize that we're with other people who've probably experienced a loss. Children don't always realize that there's others like them who've experienced a loss. And so for them to be able to get in that environment together where it's safe, where they can talk about their feelings and emotions, do fun activities, serious activities where we get to help them walk through that journey of grief.
Right. Give me an example of one or two of the activities that the kids might experience who come into it thinking maybe I'm the only one that's lost a loved one. They find out there are others like that, and they go into these activities. Give me a couple examples.
Sure. So one of my favorite activities is the art therapy, where they get to really paint a picture of how they're feeling and the emotions that they're going through. We take time to get in a circle and sit and talk about their loved ones so they can talk about their losses and what that felt like to them. And we do fun activities. We exercise. We do water activities. So a lot of fun things in camp too. It's not all sad. You would think grief camp is sad. It's actually not sad. It's a time where a lot of laughter and a lot of joy and a lot of remembrance and celebration.
Now, is this only open to kids who maybe have lost a loved one who passed away under hospice care, or is it any kid who's lost a loved one?
So this is for any child in our communities that we serve. So whether they've lost someone in hospice or they've had another type of loss outside of hospice, They're welcome to come to camp.
I guess the last two, what ages of kids can attend, and is there a fee?
So ages 5 to 16 attend camp. And there is no cost for camp. We want them to come and be able to enjoy this regardless of their ability to be able to pay for camp.
We didn't rehearse this or anything, but I'm just curious about feedback that you might have gotten. Because although the PEAK concept is relatively new, you've done grief camps before. You've worked with a lot of kids before who have lost a loved one. What kind of sense is this kind of counseling, and is it really making a difference for kids?
I certainly feel like it makes a difference. This will be my 13th camp
right.
to actually help with. And I find that, through the process, children really start to open up where they may have not been able to have a voice. And when they're going through these activities and they're talking to these counselors, and we'll break them up into smaller groups, and then they'll start to tell us how meaningful it is to come to camp and have someone that they can talk to and let them, just really have a moment to talk about their loved one.
Right. Sometimes they just don't want to open up until they get with folks that have gone through the same thing, and then you and the folks and the activities bring it out at them. I just think that's great. Up on screen, mtmvalleyhospice.org is the website, which I hope you will visit. The general number is 888-789-2922. All sorts of good information on there. And Christy, I really do appreciate all you do, especially working with the kids and doing the camps for so long. Thanks for everything.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after this.
The world's brightest are Fulbrights, Goldwaters, McNairs, and Spartans. Prestigious doesn't have to be expensive.
And we know you will make a difference wherever you go.
UNCG. Find your way here.
Back now on Triad Today, a first-time visitor to the show. I'm so glad he's here. Lieutenant Ryan Todd is with the Greensboro Police Department, and welcome to Triad Today. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor.
There's so many things we could talk about, but you sent me some emails to look over, and it was interesting because you were talking about something called Real-Time Information Center. Now, I hadn't heard about that. So, so tell me, what is that?
The Real-Time Information Center, or ARTIC, as we call it, is sort of an evolution in policing that you're seeing sort of sweep the country at this point. What it is a collaboration of technologies that many of which we already own within the police department, but we've never really used them in conjunction with one another. So we have at the Real-Time Information Center, it's a room at the Greensboro Police Department where all of these technologies are sort of being plugged into one another so that officers and the detectives and actually now some of our professional staff who are non-sworn individuals in the room can use those technologies in conjunction with one another to help officers be safer on calls, improve public safety, and get better information out to folks who are going to be using the 911 call system.
Well, give me an example or something of how that keeps the community and the officers safe. Give me an example of that.
Sure. So to describe a number of the components that we're using at this point, I'll start with our body-worn cameras and our vehicle-mounted cameras. So those cameras, we've had those for years, but being able to go into them live so that officers, so that we can feed information to dispatch. Here's an example of, you may have an officer on the radio who's not responding to the radio dispatcher when she's calling them out. We don't know what's going on in that call. Our folks in Arctic can jump into their body-worn camera under that circumstance and see what's happening. And maybe it's nothing. Maybe the officer accidentally switched over to a different radio channel and can't hear, or maybe they're fighting someone on the side of the highway and they need help now.
That's just amazing that you have that technology to do that. Now, you also sent me an email about something called the Camera Registry System.
That's right.
What is that all about?
So one of the major components that we use in Arctic is a system called Fusus. And really, Fusus is the name of the company. It's out of Atlanta. They sell two products primarily that we use. One of them is the operating system. So the operating system is a single pane of glass. All of the calls for service, all of these cameras, all of our license plate readers, body-worn cameras, all that stuff is sort of poured into this one large television array in the Arctic Center. But the other thing they sell is an item called a core. So if there's a pre-existing camera system, like in this building itself right now, the Greensboro Police Department doesn't have access to that. But if the business owner wants to give us access to their cameras that we can access in real time.
And you feed it into that system.
That's right. We'll go install the core. It'll come in real time. And so the camera registry really works two ways. There may be businesses out there that would like to do business with the police department and send us their feeds in real time. We can come install a core for them. Or if it's a private residential building, if it's your own home, the core won't work with that. I can't install a core into, say, your doorbell camera. It's just the technology is not built that way. It has to be an NVR or a DVR we plug it into. So in that case, what you can do is register that camera, and all you're really saying to the police department is, hey, I've got a doorbell camera. And if you guys ever have crime or public safety issues in my neighborhood, here's my telephone number, here's my email, send me that email. I'll be glad to look through my camera, and if I see something, I may provide it to you.
Right. Now, is that going to step on any kind of privacy issues for businesses or homeowners?
No. And so, in fact, all of this is already your stuff. It's your video. It's your surveillance. If you want to choose to give it to us, you always could have. And it's no different than really if a robbery occurs. If a robbery occurs, we're going to go to the store or the bank and ask to see the footage so they could provide it or not.
That's right.
This really just does make it easier. If you're, say, a gas station who got robbed, I don't have to call someone from out of town to access the system. And the same is true with your driveway.
Yeah.
I can't look through that camera again. So if you see something happening in your driveway that was suspicious, you can immediately send that to us.
I just think this is great. We have a few seconds left, since we've never met until today. Who or what led you to want to go in law enforcement?
Gosh, so that was over 20 years ago. I had a commitment that I was really planning to join the military. And in that discussion, I decided ultimately what I want to do after graduating from college was to go and work for my local law enforcement agency. I was only going to do it for 4 years, and that was over 20 years ago. So I've really enjoyed the job a lot.
That's great. So anybody in your family had been in law enforcement before?
Not one.
So you just self-motivated into this.
Yeah, I had a friend who was a police officer, and I did one ride along with him, and I said, man, you get paid to do this? He goes, yeah, I answer 911 calls for a living.
Yeah,
and so that sounds like a lot of fun and a lot of help.
I appreciate what you're doing. Up on screen, a couple of things. p2c.greensboro-nc.gov is a good one to go to and visit. Also, gpdcareers.com is good. Lieutenant Ryan Todd, thanks for all you do to keep us safe.
It's an honor. Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll be right back after this. Hi, I'm Jim Longworth, reminding you that Triad Today is now streaming on WFMY Plus, available free on Roku and Amazon Fire TV. Back now on Triad Today, let's talk about helping students. And we do that with a good friend of the show. She's been here many times before. Elizabeth Paul is Chief Public Information Officer for Shift Ed. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Let's, for people that maybe didn't see one of your segments before or just moved into the area, very quickly, what is the mission of Shift Ed? What are you guys all about?
Well, shame on them if they weren't tuning into you before now.
Absolutely. I think that's right. We're going to do a commercial with you saying shame on you.
Well, in the meantime, I'll do my commercial for Shift Ed.
Okay.
And basically the easiest way to describe what we do is we are all about boldly accelerating student potential. From classroom to career. And we try to do that through diverse educational and workforce pathways because we're really trying to grow the next generation of Guilford County citizens who are giving back.
Yeah, you emailed me earlier and said, here we are in summer, so let's talk about summer. And the reason for that, because you said, the kids will get out of school, but that doesn't mean they shouldn't be doing some work. And you even have like a resources tab on your website. Tell me all about what's going on.
You've been doing your homework. And we're not trying to create homework for the students. I think we just, in working in partnership with the district, we understand that some students are really trying to use those summer months to make plans for whatever their post-secondary journey is going to be. A lot of them are going on to college or another 2-year program. Some of them are looking to connect with internships or volunteer opportunities to kind of beef up that resume. So our staff thought to themselves, how do we keep them engaged and give them a place that they can go and find this information? And so we gave birth to a resources tab on our shifted.org website,
right.
Hopefully making it a one-stop shop for those families and students who are looking to plug in and find whatever they're looking for related to their next place in the academic journey.
You sort of just answered this question, but just give me a specific example of one resource that might be available or activity or something that the kids and the students need to do in the summer.
Oh, lots to find. I think one of the things that we do that's really powerful is we offer, through that resources tab, the opportunity where you could sign up for a free 30-minute one-on-one consultation or bring your family or whoever is going to be helping you plan. Our Shift Ed staff are very knowledgeable about working through application processes, scholarships, financial aid, and they really can spend that time, again, for free, working with you and your providers for figuring out how are we going to pay for this next portion of your academic journey? What does this look like? How can you make really good informed choices about what comes next for you? And I think that's probably one of our best resources that a student could use to take advantage of.
And Shift Ed, a big focus, of course, is on getting kids ready for college and prep. I know that. But very quickly, I mean, somebody watching here says, wait a minute, my kid's in middle school. Do you do anything to help them in the summer?
That's a really great question. I think I do tend to talk a lot about the high school kids going on to college. But for those students who are going to be going into high school, there are really great resources on that tab. For 8th graders, rising 9th graders, they're now eligible for a really amazing program that we provide called SEO Scholars North Carolina. That is a free 8-year academic journey that they would go on with us. It is a program that follows public school students to and through college with a 90% graduation rate, which is really amazing. Wow. Many of them get scholarships on their own. And this program has really closed the achievement gap for those students. So it's an amazing thing. So middle schoolers need to check it out, and we will be sending home information and report cards this week. So be on the lookout, parents.
You also told me something off camera about a newsletter.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things I get asked all the time is like, how can I help? How can I get involved? How can I stay engaged? I think the best thing you can do is go to our website, sign up to be in our newsletter. Our staff are always putting out info on what's going on in the school district, what's up and coming. As soon as we get information, we like to put it out and really get the resources into the hands of the families that need it. So that's a really great thing to do. And I'd be remiss as the former fundraiser if I didn't say, while you're signing up for that newsletter, we can't do this work without the support of the community. So sign up to volunteer or consider making a donation and pay it forward for the next generation.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. And on the screen, shifted.org. Shifted.org is the website to go to with all that information. And Elizabeth, thanks for all you do, my friend.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
We'll be right back after this.
North Carolina's economy is growing, bringing new businesses and opportunities. The need for electricity is growing too. At Duke Energy, we're meeting the challenge, providing even more electricity that's cleaner, reliable, and that stays affordable. We're getting out of coal and reinvesting in our communities with a diverse, balanced mix of energy sources and making targeted upgrades to the grid so that North Carolina can thrive in a smarter energy future.
Back now on Triad Today, and let's spend a little time talking about exercise physiology. What does that mean? We're going to find out with a special guest. On my right is Cameron Taylor. He's an exercise physiologist with Northern Cardiac and Pulmonary Rehab. That's part of the Northern Regional family in Mount Airy. We welcome you to the show.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
What is an exercise physiologist? Before we get going, just help me with that.
Sure. So an exercise physiologist is someone that has usually a bachelor's degree in exercise science. Generally, I kind of like to think of it as in between a personal trainer and a physical therapist, where we know more about exercise than maybe a personal trainer does, but not to the extent that a physical therapist does. They usually do their doctoral program in that, and so it's kind of a mid-level.
Right. Now, what is pulmonary rehabilitation?
Sure. So pulmonary rehab is a medically supervised program for people with chronic lung disease. Unfortunately, there is no cure for chronic lung disease, and so this is...
Yeah, my dad, before he died, he had COPD, and you just try to manage it. But.
Right, and that's one of the big things we try to do is help with patients with managing their symptoms, improving and increasing their strength and endurance, and improving their overall quality of life.
Yeah, I think that sometimes there's a misconception about that, and if you've lived through this with a family member, your first thought is, okay, just relax, lay down, don't do anything. But that's the opposite of what you should do, right?
Right. You should definitely try to exercise with what you can, right? Everybody's got a certain capacity with what they can do, but exercise is going to be one of the best things to try to help with that.
Now, other than folks like my dad who went through, what you're talking about with when he had COPD, are there other people with other conditions that can benefit from pulmonary rehab?
Sure. So really anyone with lung disease can benefit from pulmonary rehab. The bulk of the patients that we see over at pulmonary rehab are generally coming in with things like COPD or interstitial lung disease, but we get lots of different types of people with things like sleep apnea or cystic fibrosis or different diseases like that.
What if I come in there and I have a lung disease and illness? I mean, what can I expect to happen if I come under your program? What happens?
Sure. So it generally starts off with a referral, and that's signed off by an MD or a DO, and then that information will then come and we'll have our administrative assistants talk to their insurance providers. And once that's done, we'll set you up with an initial assessment. During that initial assessment, we'll go over your medical history, any kind of medications you may be taking, and any kind of physical maybe limitations you may have. So like, do you have shoulder pain, back pain, hip pain, knee pain, those kind of things that are going to be really important to us as we design the program for you. And then we'll do a short stress test at the end to see just kind of where you're at right now.
And this isn't just senior citizens like myself. I mean, you help younger people too, right?
Exactly. So we've had people that have come in, mid-30s and 40s to people that have been almost 100 years old. And so lung disease affects anyone and everyone.
Let me ask you a personal question since I have you here, and that's about, why you decided to go into this. I mean, was there a therapist, a doctor, a nurse, anybody in your family or a teacher, somebody said something to you about healthcare, why did you want to go into this kind of field?
Sure. So I went into healthcare because, as cliche as it sounds, I wanted to help people. But I think it went more into that. I wanted to be able to be with people whenever they were very vulnerable and be able to be there and be an inspiration to them. My grandfathers, both of them actually passed away from progressive forms of lung diseases, one from lung cancer and one from pulmonary fibrosis.
Right.
And so seeing them and seeing how their diseases impacted their daily life and, having a hard time breathing and getting around, that made a lasting impact with me.
Well, bless your heart, I appreciate that. Let me just put up something on screen here because I want people to see this. The general website for the hospital, choosenorthern.org, of course, but for Northern Cardiac and Pulmonary Rehab, you can also call them directly for information, and correct me if I get this wrong, 336-783-8448, I believe that's right.
That's right.
And they can give you more information, and again, you get there through a referral, but call there and check it out, and they can do a lot of things for you. I really appreciate what you're doing for folks. I appreciate the fact you went into this field, and I hope you'll come back to the show sometime.
We'll do it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Cameron. We'll be right back after this. Hi, I'm Jim Longworth, reminding you to catch my column Longworth at Large and Yes Weekly every week. It's available throughout the Triad, or you can go online, yesweekly.com. Back now on Triad Today, just about time for the roundtable, but a quick shout out to the good folks here at Senior Botanical Garden. Check out the website, come to the garden, lots to see. You can rent the facility, and I thought I'd give them an extra plug about putting the podium up. Got a little logo here. It's a subliminal commercial. And three guys that are not subliminal, they're bliminal. I think I made up a word. Ogie Oberman, my good buddy, is on the right, but always political left. Dave Briggs is filling in for Rosemary Plyman, who called me and said she has something more important than being with three handsome men. I don't know what that's about. And Keith Granberry, founder of Helping Hands Consultants. All right, guys. Last year, independents, undecideds, and 10% of Republicans said they would not vote for Trump if he was convicted of a crime. A recent average of all polls showed Trump beating Biden in North Carolina by 5 points. Will Trump's 34 felony convictions now give Biden a win in North Carolina, Ogie?
Yeah, I think so. And it's still early. I mean, the polls, you can disregard polls at this point. But, yeah, I think Biden is going to take North Carolina. I really do.
Dave?
I don't believe so at all.
Too much of a margin.
I think there's way too much there. And I really think that if Trump wins, the Republican Party has Alvin Bragg and Jack Smith to thank.
All right, Keith.
I think that anybody who has 34 convictions I think that's going to weigh heavily on the voters, and I think it's going to make a huge difference in this election.
All right, speaking of polls, a recent High Point University poll showed that Republican Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson is leading Democrat Attorney General Josh Stein by 5 points, with about 20% undecided. When everything's averaged in, Stein is ahead by a smidgen. Who wins this race in November?
I cannot wrap my head around Mark Robinson being governor of North Carolina. I would be ashamed to tell people I was from North Carolina if he were our governor.
Dave, what do you think?
A year ago, I would have told you I think Mark Robinson is a shoo-in. I don't think that people's memory is long enough to remember that it was Stein that helped keep small businesses closed down during the pandemic. But I think Stein wins this.
All right, Keith.
I think we agree. I think Stein is definitely going to win. I think that the voters right now are undecided, and those undecided are going to move towards Stein.
Big block of undecided, 20%.
Yeah.
A national network of local news sites is now publishing articles written by artificial intelligence under a fake byline. Guys, does this concern you, or does it matter so long as the information is accurate? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seriously concerned about AI, Jim. I tell you, I cannot. We're going to end up being like 2001 Space Odyssey. Hell.
Yeah, do it with Dave. What do you think?
Yeah, I absolutely hate this. So much of what's coming out of AI is not accurate, and then they can't verify it.
Right.
And so that's and somebody has to input the information in order for AI to actually generate the column.
That is my point. Someone is inputting this information into the system, and that person can be customizing information to fit what they want. And I think that's the problem.
All right. The 17-year-old Parkland High School student who earlier this year physically assaulted 2 teachers on 2 different occasions is now appealing a ruling that says he's going to have to be tried as an adult. His attorney says only the juvenile court system can provide the young man with, quote, a path to restoration. Guys, the student committed adult crimes, so should he now catch a break, go through juvie? Oh,
Well, if he had done it one time, I might listen to that argument. But he did it twice, and they were pretty serious crimes, and I say try him as an adult.
Dave.
Yeah, that argument's horse hockey, that he needs to be tried as an adult.
Keith.
I'm going to kind of disagree. I think the adult prison system is so heinous that if you go in there as a young person, it's just not going to rehabilitate anyone. I think there should be a stiff penalty. He should be tried as a juvenile, but I think there should be some time spent after that. But I do not think that you should put a 17-year-old in one of those prisons. That's just too much.
All right, Louisiana is poised to become the first state in the nation to require display of the 10 Commandments in public classrooms. Supporters of the bill say this will help establish, quote, a moral code in the classroom. Would you like to see the 10 Commandments displayed in North Carolina schools, Okie?
I wish somebody would give these guys a history lesson about why the founding fathers were so adamant about separation of church and state. Go back and read some of the writings of Jefferson, Ben Franklin.
Well, they can't read. They can't read. Dave, what do you think?
Well, I'm actually kind of proud of Louisiana. It is basically a Catholic state. The 10 Commandments is part of our Judeo-Christian tradition, no matter where you are. And who doesn't need to know about thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, and so on?
That's a good point, Keith.
This comes from a state that has Mardi Gras. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We're gonna have 10 Commandments during Mardi Gras. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense to me.
That's all about covenant.
That's right.
Thou shalt not covet. Yeah,
thou shalt not go down the street
exactly naked. No, that's exactly right.
And finally, according to a report on the website Science in the World, women lie more than men do. Guys and gals, before you answer, and do you agree with that or not, Rosemary emailed me and said, hey, tell the guys that women are more likely to omit the truth to bruise keep from bruising somebody's ego. Of course, Rosemary could be lying. But, Keith, you think women lie more than men?
I'm kind of surprised at that. I think the answers are probably going to follow along gender lines on that one, though.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think that these guys have ever been in a locker room or they've ever been at the 19th hole at a golf course. If a guy isn't lying, he's not opening his mouth.
Keith, do you think women lie more than you do?
Absolutely. Why more than me?
You're a man.
Why? But you just said more than me. You said
you're a man.
Yeah. I am a man.
Yeah,
all man. But that does not mean women. Absolutely, women lie way more than men. But they do it in a different manner. Okay. It doesn't seem like a lie. Yeah. But it definitely is a lie.
Yeah. Okay. There you heard it. The 11th commandment right there.
That's right.
Oh, well, that's all the time we have. Oh, except for this. This whole new trend in yoga is to have animal yoga. Well, up in Massachusetts, they started doing piglet yoga. They have little tiny piglets with them doing yoga. And one critic said, hey, next thing you know, they're going to start having cow yoga. And the instructor said, no, we wouldn't have cow yoga. That'd be too much of a stretch. See, in yoga, the cow is so big.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's like that 10 Commandment.
Yeah, why don't you stay out of it? That's all. We'll see you next week.